Well, students, welcome back to the session. In this session, we are going to discuss what are the applications of PN junction. Now, in the previous session, if you remember, we had discussed how exactly a PN junction can be connected to an external source. This is what we have seen. So, there are two ways by which an external source can be connected to a PN junction. One is forward bias and one is reverse bias. And we have also seen that when the PN junction is in forward bias, essentially then only it is able to conduct electricity, correct? And when it is in reverse bias, we have seen that then essentially it is in a position of extremely high resistance. So virtually it will not conduct in reverse bias. So what is the moral of the story? The behavior of PN junction is based on the simple fact how the source is connected. The PN junction will behave as a simple conductor if in forward bias. It will behave as an infinite resistor when in reverse bias. Because based on this fact, the PN junction, if you see the symbol of PN junction, what is the symbol for PN junction? Normally we are using this symbol in electrical circuit. So you should not get surprised when it is not mentioned PN junction. If we write it this way, see here, this is the symbol for PN junction. This is a arrowhead. This is arrowhead. Arrow shows in this direction, forward biasing will be there. If you connect this diode PN junction such that here plus 200 volt is there and here you have plus 100 volt, this is forward bias. This is forward bias. Reverse it. Make it 100 volt. Make this 200 volt. This is reverse bias. See, from high potential to low potential, it is opposite to the arrowhead. That is reverse bias. This type of questions are normally asked. So you should know this is a symbol for a diode or a PN junction, and the arrow represents forward bias. Now many questions will be there, like what the type is, this thing they will put here minus 15 volt and this is grounded, they will say, that is 0. Is this forward bias or reverse bias? This is reverse bias, because ground 0 is more than minus 15. Suppose if minus is removed, this is forward bias. Now you will have minus 15 volt and here suppose I say minus 4 volt. Now what can you say? Again it is reverse bias, because minus 4 is more than minus 15. Now the same thing, if you have plus 15 and plus 4, obviously there is no doubt you can say this is always this is a forward bias. Be very careful about the minus signs. Normally we frame questions which are based on the minus sign. So students, this is the symbol which we are using for PN junction. This is also known as a diode. Diode. This word has come from die-to, that is ode electrode, to electrode. That is exactly how we have what is called as. So what are the applications of PN junction? When we talk of application of PN junctions, just now we have discussed a PN junction, a diode is behaving as a conductor when in forward bias. We have seen in the previous class, and it behaves as an infinite resistor in case of a reverse bias. So this application is used, this property is used where? Rectification. First application is in rectification. Now, or rectifiers. The device is known as rectifier. What is a rectifier? The question arises, what is rectifier? Rectifier is an arrangement to convert AC to DC. This is called rectifier. Rectifier is an arrangement to convert AC. What is AC? Now you are familiar with the kind of sources. Sources can be of two types: steady source and a fluctuating source, correct? So this is a fluctuating source, we say AC, steady source is a DC. Now to convert AC to DC we are using rectifiers. Where are we using this in daily life? If you say yes, in daily life you are used to, or you cannot live without a device which is called mobile, correct? How do you charge the mobile? Every morning before you wipe your eyes also you start charging the mobile, correct? Ever thought of it, how the charging is happening? In the mobile works on 9 volt, 12 volt battery. Can battery provide AC? It can never provide AC, it's a DC. Then how you are charging through a 220 volt AC? How it is being happening? So that is why it involves thinking. What happens is, from a 220 volt main supply 3-point plug, you are connecting one particular black color thing which you call as a charger. That 3-point plug is taking input as AC. Inside we have a rectifier which rectifies the input AC signal into DC, and then the wire cable which comes out, which you pass on to the mobile, it is having DC. Everything got converted there inside that black color box. That is it has a rectifier. Second, it has a step down transformer as well, because your mobile will not work on 220 volt. Your mobile works on 9 or 12 volt maximum. So from 220 volt we have to bring it to 9 volt. So that is a step down transformer. So inside there will be another step down transformer. Second, these are two components. Third component is called a filter circuit, which is an arrangement of a capacitor and inductor. So they will make the fluctuating DC into a steady DC. So these are the components which you will find in any charger, that's all. Now, if you have ever observed, see it is all observation, physics involves that. The charger heats up. So question arises, why does the charger heat up? We didn't put it on a gas stove. Why is it getting heated up? Now, if you remember, and if you have read, if you have seen the previous videos, you might have come across there are some losses in the transformer. The losses which are there are known as copper losses, which is nothing but Joule's heating effect. There is hysteresis loss, which is also known as iron loss. So these two are the major component, because the core will be made up of some magnetic material, ferrous material. So there is hysteresis loss. Again, heat will be generated. Joule's heating is there. Copper wires are there. Primary and secondary turns. So again, there is a heat loss. Because of this, the charger gets heated up. That is the loss. Anyway, let us not go into the depth of transformer and all those things. Let us concentrate on rectifier. So rectifier converts AC to DC, correct? AC, if you see, if you remember, the representation of AC happens to be this way. In an AC, we say that we have a positive lobe and we have a negative lobe. So there are two possibilities in rectification. There are two possibilities in rectification. What are the two possibilities? The two possibilities are, either we can rectify half of the wave, either plus or minus, or we can rectify both the lobes. If we are rectifying one lobe, then it is called half wave rectifier. If we are rectifying both the lobes, then it is known as full wave rectifier. That is why rectifier can be of two types. We will say half wave rectifier, or it can also be called as a full wave rectifier. Now, let us see how exactly we can achieve this rectification process, right? So, first I am taking half wave rectifier. How exactly can we achieve half wave rectification? So, half wave rectifier. The name only suggests half wave. So in that case, how exactly rectifier? See, this is AC, and if you can make out what exactly this symbol is for, I would appreciate your memory then. So what exactly is this symbol for? Not this one, I'm talking of this. Now, this is what we can say as a simple circuit. This is load resistance, we represent as RL. This is diode, and this is input. We are feeding input AC. Now, this is a symbol for a transformer. The primary of the transformer we are feeding AC, and the secondary of the transformer we are drawing the output. We are drawing the output from the secondary of the transformer. Now, here you can connect a lamp, here you connect any device which can produce sound, alarm or anything can be divided. That is why I have taken it as a load resistance. Load in no way represents weight. Please understand. In the language of physics, load resistance we say it is output. Now, how exactly we are able to achieve rectification? So, in order to understand that, I have to take what happens. See, first stage, during positive half cycle. During positive half cycle, what we get? During positive half cycle means what? I will try to draw it clearly so that you will be able to make out. Positive half cycle is this. Let us label the terminals A, B, C, D, E. Let us label like this. Now, when positive half cycle comes, what do we have? During the positive half cycle, A is positive, B is negative. This is what we will have, because these are the terminals which is known as primary terminal of a transformer. Both cannot be positive, both cannot be negative. So one is positive, one is negative. This is positive half cycle. What will happen to C? Now, if you can recollect, if you can remember, transformer works on the principle of mutual induction. Mutual induction. So when it is working on the principle of induction, same kind of charge cannot be induced. Opposite charge will be induced. So C will become negative, E will become positive. Now in this case, please observe what will happen to the diode. Diode has gone to reverse bias. From negative electron charge, current cannot flow. From positive it will flow. So it is in the reverse bias. So what can we say during positive half cycle? Diode D is in reverse bias. Now if it is in reverse bias, any idea what will be the output? There is no output. So there is no output. See here. So we will not draw anything here. There is no output because reverse bias. So what we can say? No output. This we have already seen in the VI characteristics and in the behavior. This is what happens. What will happen now during negative half cycle? Now during negative half cycle, what will happen during negative half cycle? During the negative half cycle, A will become negative and B will become positive, because of which E will become negative and C will become positive. Now what can you say? Now we see that the diode is forward bias. If it is forward bias, there will be current, which means that we will receive the negative lobe. We will not receive the positive lobe. Half wave. We are receiving only half lobe. That is why it is called half wave rectifier. Again, the positive will not be received. Negative will be received. See, all the negatives will be received. And what is the kind of output? This is a fluctuating DC. How can you say that? See this, this is a function of time. It is not constant. Normally the variation of DC should be what? Straight line. But we are not getting a straight line, right? So this is why it is called a fluctuating DC. Now the fluctuating DC, we got DC unidirectional. See here, all negative lobes we are getting, all identical lobes we are getting. This is exactly what we call as fluctuating DC, half wave rectifier. So what we can say now, it is not that, please students, do not jump into conclusion that only negative lobes will be received, positive lobes can never be received. No, it is not like that. And how does it matter whether it is a positive lobe or a negative lobe? Output is what matters. Next thing, instead of positive you feed negative, you will get positive lobe, no? You feed negative first, you will get all the positive lobes. So it is not that always negative lobe will be received in the output. We cannot receive positive. No. Second thing, it is also not important whether we are receiving positive or negative. What is important is which kind of the lobe we are receiving. That will define our DC. Here we are having only one type of output we are receiving. So this is a unidirectional one, first of all. Second, since it is fluctuating, the value is not constant, it is changing with time. See here, it is changing, the magnitude is changing with time or not. That is why it is called fluctuating DC. Now the fluctuating DC, this output, if you remember, in case of a charger, I told there is a filter circuit, right? The output of a rectifier is fed to a filter circuit. The output of a rectifier, let us say half wave rectifier, half of the wave, it is a fluctuating DC. This fluctuating DC is fed to a filter circuit. In the filter circuit, this input signal is continuously reflected back and forth, and these ripples, in the language of semiconductor we call ripples, these ripples are removed, and what happens is eventually we will get an output which will be like this, fairly steady DC. See, almost a straight line, steady DC. That is exactly how. This is the output of a filter circuit. Now, what is important is, here half of the energy present in the half lobe is lost. So the efficiency can be said as 50% only. What can we say about the efficiency? Efficiency is only 50%. That is why half wave rectifiers are not practically used. But this only laid the foundation to study the rectification process. That is why we are studying this. Otherwise we wouldn't have taken this, we would have directly gone to full wave. If we are not able to make out how to rectify, how to go for direct thing, right? Now let us discuss about the full wave rectifier. So what is the difference between a half wave and a full wave rectifier? The difference between half wave and full wave rectifier is, first of all, in case of half wave rectifier, we are using only one diode. Second, in case of a half wave rectifier, only half of the input wave is being rectified, is being received, not the full wave. So what we will have in a full wave rectifier? Let us try to understand full wave rectifier. So very interesting. So a full wave rectifier, for a full wave rectifier we need an arrangement. We need an arrangement in which one of the diode has to be forward bias whether positive lobe comes or negative lobe comes. Correct? This is exactly what is arrangement required. So let us try to develop that arrangement. Primary is going to remain the same. This is the input. So you are feeding input to the primary, that is going to remain the same. Now what we have is, this is exactly what we have as, now secondary, we have one diode here, I have one more diode here. So we have two diodes, D1 and D2. How the output will be connected? Where to get the output? Here what we do is we do center tapping and output is connected between these two. See here, this is two output, this is load and we say this is two output. Now what will happen to this? Very simple. Take a jump and connect it here. See, this is how the simplest circuit possible for a full wave rectification. This is center tapping. So here the transformer, we are doing center tapping. Center tapping is a procedure in which secondary terminals that we have secondary. In transformer we have primary and secondary. In the secondary, that is divided into two equal half. This is one half, this is another half. This is called center tapping of the transformer. Second, the diode here, you see, we are not connecting them through. You are taking a jump and connecting here. Now what happens? Again, let us see. Let us label the ends. If I label the ends here, see A, B, C, D1. This is load. Correct? So I will write here C, D, E, F. Then G, H. Let us write like that explicitly so that there is no problem. Now let us analyze. During positive half cycle, again the same story. So during positive half cycle, during the positive half cycle, what we have? A is positive, B is negative. So what happens? Again we have the same reasoning. Please use your reasoning powers. C will become negative, H will become positive. Now what will happen at center tapping? Center tapping is a neutral point, correct? But since we have done center tapping, these two, the entire number of turns in secondary will be divided into two parts. That will make two circuits for D1 and D2. It will make two circuits, one for D1, one for D2. So since it is neutral, by default I can say this part is positive, this part is negative. Neutral? Okay. Now check. C is negative, so D1 is reverse bias. So D1 will not conduct. D2, this is plus, so D2 will conduct. So what can we say during positive half cycle? D1 has gone into reverse bias. So there is no output because of D1. but the output is because of D2. So because of this, no output, reverse bias. But what about D2? D2 is in forward bias, so there is output. So D2 will conduct. D2 will conduct. If D2 conducts, then what will be the path of current? What will be the path of current if D2 conducts? Let us trace the path of current. It will start from H, then D2. Then where will it go? To G. After that, it will take a jump. It reaches D. Will it go to C or E? It cannot go to C because D1 is reverse bias. So what will happen? The whole thing will go to E. From E it will go to load. From load it will end at F. See, the path is complete. This is how we get the output. This is how we get the output. So what we are getting? There is output during the positive half cycle. Now let us see what happens during negative half cycle. So during negative half cycle, I hope this is clear that we are getting output. So if I try to draw the output curve, so we are having output. We are having output. Now what about the negative half cycle? During the negative half cycle, B will become positive, A will become negative, because of which C will become positive, H will become negative. Now what will happen is simple. This is neutral, it will just reverse. That's all. Again it is neutral. Correct. Now let us see. Now during negative half cycle, what we find? D1 is forward bias. D1 is forward bias while D2 is reverse bias. So D2 will not conduct. D1 will conduct, which means that whether it is a positive lobe fed to the primary or the negative lobe, diode is conducting in both the cases. In case of half wave, we saw diode was conducting in only one situation. But observe here, in the AC which has a positive and a negative lobe both, what we find is diode is conducting in both the situation. So what we find, this is, it is D2 is reverse bias, it is having no output. But this is forward bias, so there is output. So if there is output, then the question arises, what will be the path of current? What will be the path of current? Current will flow from C, then D1, then D. Now the question arises, will it go to G or to E? If it goes to G, then D2 is reverse bias. It will not allow. So it will go to E. It will go to E. From E, it will go to load. And then it will come to F. See, so there is output. There is output. So there is output. See. So what we find in both the cases, whether it is positive lobe or the negative lobe, we see that there is output coming out in both the situation. There is output coming out in both the situation. This is exactly what is full wave rectification. So students, you might get this type of question. Explain full wave rectification or half wave rectification. So you are supposed to write explicitly two different diagrams when you are considering positive lobe and negative lobe. Don't try to overwrite on the same circuit signs which are there, polarities which are there. It will create a trouble in understanding to the examiner. So there is a, so see this. Here we find that the wave is starting here, and at this point also the wave is starting, which means that in one time period we are having two waves in one time period, and that is nothing but the frequency. So what can we say? That the frequency relationship between input and output 2 times. And if you observe, in case of a half wave rectifier, if you remember, we had an input wave like this. This was our input, and what kind of output did we get? We got an output like this. This is our output wave. And if I try to find the frequency relationship, this is T, this is T. So what we have? Here also one wave, here also one wave. So in case of a half wave rectifier, F output and F input, they are same. This is the frequency relationship in case of half wave rectifier and full wave rectifier. That is exactly how we can understand the rectification process in case of PN junction. This is one application of PN junction. Now let us take the next application. The second application of PN junction is voltage stabilization. So how exactly are we able to use attain voltage stabilization by using this PN junction? Let us understand that concept. So the second application that we have in case of PN junction is voltage stabilization. How exactly are we able to achieve this? See, let us say, where do we use? I think this is a very common word, voltage stabilizer. Now, in good old days, there used to be a very big voltage stabilizers, right? They are electrical stabilizers, voltage stabilizers. Today we are having electronic voltage stabilizers. That is why nowadays the TV and those devices are not having additional voltage stabilizers. Previously we were attaching externally voltage stabilizer. Now the voltage stabilization is achieved inbuilt. We are able to achieve using this particular arrangement. See, let us see that. How can we achieve it? See, this is an arrangement which I will call as unregulated power supply. Unregulated power supply means what? Where there is voltage fluctuation. That is called unregulated power supply. So this is exactly what we have. Now if any device is connected to an unregulated power supply, let us say I am connecting a device here. This is my load. See, this is how I am connecting. So this is load or any device. You can talk of refrigerator, you can talk of computers, you can talk of television sets, anything. Directly you are supplying power. If there is a voltage fluctuation here, directly your load, your device will be affected. When there is high voltage, definitely it will blow off. When there is low voltage, to keep power constant, current increases, the coil will melt off. Both are dangerous. Don't think that low voltage is not dangerous, no. Now, unregulated power supply. How to control now? In order to control, before this, that is why observe where have you placed the voltage stabilizer in daily life. At your home, please cross check it. You will not waste your energy, neither your time. You will get something to learn from it. Voltage stabilizers are always placed before the appliance, before the power supply goes to the appliance, before the power supply. So directly it is going, I cannot let the power supply go directly to the load. So before that I will allow it to pass through the stabilizer, cross check with your system if you are familiar with attaching the system's cables and all. You have an UPS. From the power supply, main power supply, you are sending power to the UPS. From UPS, you are sending it to the system. So the UPS is working there for stabilization. You are not directly feeding it to the system. See, that is how it is done. So here I will connect the diode. See, and the diode which is connected is said to be a Zener diode. Remember, the symbol is, this is Z, Zener. If this is not there, then it's a normal diode, PN junction. So what is the difference between a normal diode and a Zener diode? Zener diode is always connected in reverse bias. Zener diode is always connected in reverse bias. Now see, this is what is happening. This is not the complete one. If you have ever felt the big electrical voltage stabilizer, if you have ever tried to understand how it works, if you touch it, you will feel it is hot. Hot. From where that hot or the heat that has come? We didn't put it on the gas stove, then from where the heat is coming? Definitely there is transformation of energy happening. So, since high voltage you are feeding, how the voltage drop will occur? Like say for example, your device here, whichever you have connected, works happily on, let us say, 200 volt. Just for the sake of calculation I am taking 200 volt. Now suppose 300 volt comes. This load will blow off. Because additional 100 volt it cannot withstand. So where should that additional 100 volt go? Means that the voltage has to be divided. You have to divide the voltage, correct? Divide the voltage how? 200 should go to the load and 100 should be separated. So voltage divider. Which circuit is voltage divider? Series circuit is a voltage divider. So in series with the load, I have to keep one resistance. So here we will connect a series resistance. This is also denoted by RS. See here. This is how we can achieve stabilization, as simple as that, if we are able to reason out the concepts. See, suppose 300 volt comes. The design of the Zener diode, we know that the Zener diode works on the reverse bias. The breakdown, if you remember in the last class we were discussing about the Zener breakdown, right? So the breakdown of the Zener, this diode will happen at, I will design it, this is 200, I will design it for 200 volt. If more than 200 comes, then at this point division will happen, breakdown of the diode will happen, and at this point the two will, see, divide. If it is less 200, it will not break down, so this division will not happen, the whole thing will go. So your load is safe for 200 volt. If even 201 comes, this will break down, one voltage will occur across this and the remaining 200 will go here. This is the role of Zener diode. So the Zener diode, what it will do? Whichever design of that breakdown voltage is, till that it will not create any alternative path. Remember that. The moment breakdown voltage is touched, this is where the role of Zener diode comes. It will cause breakdown, switch alternative path. Rated one will go to the load, rest of the voltage will drop across the series resistance, and that is the reason why we see it becomes hot. See, this is exactly how it happens. Students, in the entrance exam, there will be numerical questions based on this concept. You be very careful about it. So they will ask you what type of question will be there. What is the Zener current? What, this will be the load current, and this will be the series current. See here, apply Kirchhoff law. we can say IS is equal to IZ plus IL. Apply Kirchhoff law at this junction. I series current is approaching the junction. It is divide this concept. See, apply Kirchhoff law and you can get everything. See, this is exactly how voltage stabilization by using a PN junction can be understood.